Hi, I'm Nan Simonson. I'm a culinary health and wellness coach with a lifestyle medical practice, and it's almost dinner time and I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to throw something together from things that I had around. And I remembered this recipe and I love it. A lady named Molly Stevens is a chef and contributes to Food and Wine. And this is one of her recipes. It's a Moroccan chickpea and carrot soup. And I'm going to show you how easy this is. I'll stop the video while it's cooking. It's 30 minutes, which is next to nothing. And then I'll show it to you as I present it. I've heated this heavy bottom pan. This is an all-clad, so it has a nice thick bottom, because I'm going to throw in this empty pan. Notice no oil, 2 cups of chopped onion, and this is about, well, it is 1 large onion. And I was inspired by a recipe, didn't exactly copy it, because I don't add oil to my food. I am whole food, plant-based. I get all of my nourishments from whole food. If I start throwing oil in things at 120 calories for a tablespoon, which is nothing, I won't have enough in order to stay trim. Calories left for all the nourishment. I get all the protein I need. I get all the fiber I need by eating whole food, plant-based, and I love the idea that all my foods nourish me, including the broth that I'm going to use to saute the onions with. So I make broth all the time. Today I had an 8-quart Dutch oven on my stovetop with a bag and a half of frozen, I just use a Ziploc 1-gallon bag of frozen vegetables that just scraps, carrot skins and or peelings, and parts of onions and leek tops, and what else did I have in there? Celery bunches and cilantro bunches that were a week old, still fresh, but a week old. I keep them in the refrigerator like a bouquet in water. But I get new ones from the farm store every week, and so those go into the bag. So lots and lots of things. I have a video on this, so you can find that, and that is my my broth, vegetable broth. I think I call it almost free because basically it is when it scraps. So I want you to see that this is simply weeping lightly. It's not sticking yet, and I'm going to let it, what we call weep. Onions have a lot of moisture in them. They weep that out in a hot pan. They start to stick a little bit. It all starts getting the tiniest bit golden, and that's when you add a little bit of broth or water. Is there nutritional value in broth? Yes, because I've got the minerals in here. The water-soluble vitamins, poof, they're probably gone. But the minerals are still in here, and so there's value in using broth over water, even though water is okay too. Now it's starting to stick a little bit. I raised the temperature to medium, and this is what I'll do. I'm adding, oh gosh, a tablespoon or 2 of broth. Did you hear that sizzle, sizzle? And then what happens is the word deglaze. It deglazes the pan. It takes that bit of sticky matter that sticks to the pan. That's all part of the onion. And it turns it into a little bit of a, well, it caramelizes it. So I do that a couple of times. And before you know it, I'll have lightly golden onion. I didn't need to use the 2 or 3 tablespoons of oil that would have otherwise gone into this recipe and then into the salad that we were going to serve. And then I'm doing artichokes in honor of the Mediterranean with tonight's dinner. And people would have dipped those in an aioli or mayonnaise or butter. And we don't do any of that. I have a fabulous Caesar, it's a smoky Caesar salad dressing that Drina Burton made. She's so brilliant. And it's on my website on the recipe Smoky Caesar Kale Salad. wonderful, and I make a lot of it. And we use that to dip the artichoke petals, and oh my gosh, it's so good. People who have tasted that think it is a decadent salad dressing, and yet the base of it is potato of all things. Just a little bit of pre-cooked potato whirled up in the blender with a lot of other things that give it a very Caesar salad or Caesar dressing taste without all the fat that, no thanks, we don't need. We get plenty of fat in our food. We get fat in beans, we get fat in different kinds of legumes. All right, so this is just starting to brown. I'm gonna put a little bit more in again. Then I'm gonna put some carrot in. This is so simple. What am I putting in this soup? I have the onion. I have chickpea that I could have taken out of the 2 cans that you'll see in the recipe. But what I do is I make a Instant Pot of 2 pounds of chickpeas. And then I put them, after I've drained them well, I put them into Ziploc 1-quart bags and I freeze them. And when you drain them well, you can take that bag and just kind of lightly tap the counter, and the chickpeas kind of fall apart, and then take out what you needed. Well, 1 can, a 15-ounce can of most beans, when drained, is about 1.5 cups. So this is 3 cups of chickpeas because I just took them out of my little bags. But use chickpeas out of a can. I always get organic. I like everything organic because they're spraying too many things these days, and I just don't want to think about what those chemicals are or do. Okay, can you see that this is turning golden? I am now going to add the carrots because I'm going to cover this, put just a touch more broth, and I'm going to cover it and steam those carrots just a little bit. And then roll it on with the soup. When I'm ready, and this is going to be about 3 minutes, when I'm ready, I'm going to put in seasoning like turmeric, ginger, cumin, garlic, cayenne, so that I get even though it is not as perfectly traditional as a pure Moroccan, this is called Moroccan, as I said, carrot and chickpea and carrot and spinach soup. But the flavor, I was just gonna go like this and say, smell. Can't do that. But you can kind of see how I dumped one after another in there. And the flavors are perfectly representative of a Mediterranean dish. And that's what we want. That carrot is soft enough, and I just want to move on and show you what I'm going to do next. Okay. Oh, well, let me soften it a touch more and explain the chickpea addition that was in this recipe, and that is that if you use your canned chickpea, you drain the chickpea, and what you end up with is a broth, but it's called aquafaba. Aquafaba could be on any bean, but it's traditionally the chickpea broth out of a can that we're talking about. People have even used that to whip up like you would an egg white if it's not a seasoned aquafaba. Well, my own chickpea broth out of the Instant Pot I keep, and I put it into 2 tablespoon silicone ice cube trays, and I freeze it so that I have a 2 tablespoon square, a bunch of them in a Ziploc bag. Well, 1/4 cup is 2 of those, because 1/4 cup is 4 tablespoons. And if I had used the canned chickpeas and drained it, it would have been about 1/2 cup, 2/3 cup of aquafaba. So I just used my own. I took out, what did I take out? 5. So that was 10 tablespoons, a little bit more than 1/2 cup of my own aquafaba. Why did I do that? Because it has a bit of a thickness, a viscous quality that will add to the let's just say the binding of the broth. Okay, we're set here. Now, what I'm going to do is lower the heat somewhat, move the vegetables over. Actually, let me add my tiny bit of broth to deglaze. Okay, and to wet the pan a little bit. Instead of adding a bunch of oil, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm simply going to take the savory ingredients, which is garlic. This is 3 cloves of garlic. And those spices I mentioned. And it's very traditional to toast your spices. I've lived in India for months and months and months and months. I spent 3 weeks in Morocco circumnavigating from Rabat, which is the capital, down to Fez and around the Atlas Mountains, and then up to Marrakech and then Casablanca, stopping all the way along the way, even in a Bedouin camp in the sub-Saharan desert where camels took us up to the top of the mountain for a sunset. It was all very cool. And these flavors really light me up. I just love this. So this is a very easy version of what we would find if we were traveling in the Mediterranean, if we were traveling in sub-Saharan Africa. Okay, what I've just done, and the point of that description, is that spices are toasted all the time to give them a better flavor. No, not so much better as a more intricate flavor. In other words, it brings out the best in them. So the spices, when they stuck a little, I put a little bit more broth, and now I'm incorporating them, and the fragrance was immediate. As soon as they started toasting, that was immediate. We don't want garlic to burn, it will get bitter. And so I did that for just moments. I'm mixing it in. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to add some salt. You don't have to add salt. The recipe calls for 1.25 teaspoons of salt, and I use sea salt by a brand called Real Salt that mines in Utah, deeply, to get the old sea salt. And I'm putting in my 3 cups of chickpea, getting that well coated with the seasonings. And now I'm going to put in, I'll probably add a little bit more because I want a full, what I did is I put my aquafaba, filled up this 4-cup measuring cup. There. And I'm going to add a little bit more. I'm just going to cover it for now, but I'll come back and add a little more. I like my soups a little bit brothy, and I like this soup brothy. So what's going to happen? And this is only going to take 30 minutes. What we want to happen, because the chickpeas are cooked, the onions are by and large cooked, we want everything now to break down a little. We want the chickpea to get soft and silky. We want the carrot to have a soft flavor, not a resistant flavor or texture, and the onions to get silky. The flavors all to marry. That'll take about 30 minutes, and that's it. Then I'm going to take a cup of this broth, and I'm going to blend it in a little blender I have. You could use a wand mixer, put it in a measuring cup, a glass one preferably. You really don't want to put hot foods in plastic. As often as you can avoid that, do that, because you get little bits of that plastic in there, and we're being inundated by plastic in everything, including our foods. You know what I'm going to do? Before I start this, let me just taste and see. Oh. See, it's got the bite of everything being new, but I can tell that it's going to be exactly what I wanted. I've done this again and again, and it's just one of my favorite soups. I'll be back to you. You'll see how pretty this is. So what I was saying is, when we blend, I had a cup of this out of here and then put it back in. We give the base of it creaminess, and then everything else is kind of loose in it, and you're eating it like a loose brothy stew with a thicker base. Oh, and then at the very end, we put in hands full of spinach, of baby spinach. It's beautiful. Wait till you see. All right, I'll be back to you. Okay, I'm back, and truth be told, it's longer than 30 minutes. We have eaten our artichoke, and it was wonderful. And it's about, well, it's time for dinner, and I didn't want to do this in advance, and you'll see why. We would have had less than a beautiful soup. Okay, so this is our soup. All by itself, it looks great, but we're going to add some color. Remember what I said? I'm going to blend a bit of this, is that about a cup? Yeah, that's about a cup. Okay. And instead of putting it in my little mixer, I decided just to show you what I meant by the wand blender. And you want to make sure that you don't fill it too high because it makes a bit of a splash. Look what it does. Because it's in glass, I don't have that situation of worrying about hot food in plastic. Okay. There we go. Now we've added creaminess. Do you see what it did? All right, and now I'm going to add to this hot soup. Hold on. I turned it off. Okay. About 6 cups. Actually, pretty much this whole bag, but not quite. Of spinach. This is baby spinach. It's going to wilt. I'm going to plate it. And we're going to eat. While it's wilting, I want to show you what I'm going to have it with. You know what that was? That was my husband taking the artichoke debris out to the compost bin. We have a little bucket we keep under the sink, and all day I put any organic debris in it, and then that keeps going out to the compost bin. And artichokes are a mess. You cut off the stem. Some people will steam the stem and eat it, but I haven't found it worth the while. And then cut off some of the top so that I can put it into my pan. What I do is I have this pan that has a steamer in it, and I just keep it on the edge of the stove. It's La Creuset, so it's the ceramic, and it's nice and heavy, ceramic on steel, and that's what I do my artichokes in. They have to go upside down, steam them for about 30-35 minutes depending on the size. Okay, so I have to cut them to make sure they'll fit in that. Then we have all the choke and all the fur, or whatever you want to call it, the bits of the flour when you're getting to the heart. So there's just piles of stuff. But we have artichokes a couple times a week when we can get them, because we just love them and they're very, very nourishing. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, I made out of soaked chickpea, not cooked, but soaked, and then cooked it later, this falafel, and you can look for the recipe for that. It's not going to be up for about a week, but by the time you've seen this, it may be up there. And it is delicious. So we're sort of going to double up on chickpeas here. We have this falafel that I put in that pan over the hot water after I took the artichoke out, just to kind of steam it and warm it. And then I have a tzatziki. And tzatziki is a yogurt, but it's vegan yogurt. I use a cashew yogurt that I get from Trader Joe's. Unsweetened cashew yogurt, full of a variety of the beneficial bacteria, and relatively inexpensive, far less than I find at the health food stores. It's only $4.99 for, I believe might be a quart. But anyway, so it's cashew yogurt and then cucumber and garlic and dill, and these will be dipped in this, or we'll put it on our plate and spoon it over and eat that along with our soup. So here we go. Warmed bowls. My bowls are always warmed. And the plates are before we dine. Isn't this pretty? Look. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, I can't wait to eat. Okay. So, Moroccan, chickpea, carrot, and spinach soup. I hope you enjoy it as much as I'm going to. Have a great day, because I know I'm going to. And consider my book, Aging Powerfully. I wrote it when I was 70. I'm 72 now. And my point is we can age with power decades beyond our 70s. That's my plan, with the pillars of lifestyle medicine. And powerfully is an acronym for 10 lifestyle modalities that have been shown to make a difference and help us age with power. Bye-bye.